Good morning, everyone, and happy July. Can you believe that it's already the middle of July? Oh my goodness. I am so excited to hear from our esteemed panelists today on the ever-growing developments in our city. And we have a lot to cover before we get there, so I'm going to get started with last week's Star Report. Look at that, 55.5% occupancy downtown with nearly 60% in the county. Go Bucks. We're seeing a direct correlation between Bucks home games and increase in occupancy. That's our highest occupancy since the March of 2020. And although we're nowhere near where we want to be in July, we are seeing continued year increases and getting back to some semblance of normalcy. Our partnership team is hard at work. Let's welcome our new partners and returning partners, Hangman Tours, Lehman Brewing, Low Country Milwaukee, Nomad Board Sports, Polizzi and Company, Present Music, the Racine Zoo, and Shaker's Cigar Bar. We're so glad to have you on the Visit Milwaukee team. We here at Visit Milwaukee, and I'm sure all of you listening on this webinar today, want to wish the Bucks the very best of luck in the NBA Finals and their pursuit of our first championship since 1971. Now tied at 2 games apiece, the series shifts to Phoenix on Saturday as the Bucks attempt to take their first series lead and bring home Milwaukee's first championship. Go Bucks and fear the deer. In addition to hosting tens of thousands of fans for the incredible Bucks playoff run, the Five-Star Forum is going to be hosting their brand new Deer District Market on Wednesday nights from July 28th through September 15th, with a market on September 25th to finish out the season. In addition to local food and produce, the market will focus on minority-owned businesses throughout Milwaukee. For more information about the Deer District Market, please visit deerdistrict.com. Calling all volunteers. We and the USI Triathlon needs you. We need volunteers to be a part of the action as we crown national champions on August 7th and 8th. This is where I'm going to be that entire weekend, and it's a great opportunity for you and or your associates to give back to your community and make the Toyota Age Group National Championships a huge success. And because they're coming back in 2022, we really want to roll out the red carpet and show them how great Milwaukee is to host a triathlon. Find more information about the USI Triathlon or sign up to volunteer at visitmilwaukee.org/USAT. American Airlines is expanding its nonstop service between Milwaukee, Mitchell International Airport, and Miami International Airport from weekly to daily beginning in November later this year. These flights will mark the first time that Miami will be served daily from Milwaukee. Isn't that just so super exciting? You can visit aa-a.com for more information. The corpse flower at the Mitchell Horticultural Conservatory bloomed this past Sunday. Known for its powerful fragrance, the corpse flower blooms for 24 to 48 hours once every 7 to 10 years. If you missed your chance to check out the corpse's pungent aroma this year, the dome's next corpse flower will bloom in 3 to 5 years. To keep an eye out for future corpse flower updates and to learn more about the domes, go to milwaukeedomes.org. Also, be sure to check out Visit Milwaukee on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok for some great corpse flower content featuring our very own team, Alex and Michaela. The Eastside Gardens Tour is back this Sunday, July 18th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. A free self-directed tour of 20 beautiful Upper East Side gardens. See creative ideas for garden design and intimate spaces in both sun and shade. Gardeners, some of whom are master gardeners, will be on hand to answer your gardening questions. You can pick up maps the day of the tour at Downer True Hardware, the Riverside Urban Ecology Center on North Point North Point Lighthouse. For updates, visit the Eastside Community Council's Facebook page. On Thursday, yesterday, I was fortunate enough to help officials from the Harley-Davidson Museum break ground on its new year-round event space. They had Big Sexy there showing us some motorcycle stunts on their brand new Pan Am bike. This new addition to Harley's already incredible lineup of event spaces throughout its 20-acre campus will feature more than 8,000 square feet of event space, floor-to-ceiling views of the Menominee Valley, state-of-the-art audio-visual components, and more. This space will be available for special occasions, weddings, corporate events, and more when it's completed in the spring of 2022. I also do want to take a moment, there's not a slide for this, to give a huge quick shout out to our very own board member, Kate Brosh, who was inducted as a Woman of Influence yesterday at the Business Journal's Women of Influence event. Congratulations, way to go, Kate from Marquette. All of the Milwaukee Art Museum collection galleries are now open with the exception of the Herzfeld Center for Photography and Media Arts. They're open Thursday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And while you're there, be sure to check out the museum's East Lawn for their Lakeside at MAM event. Create art, catch live programming, and enjoy refreshments along the shores of Lake Michigan. To learn more about the Art Museum's collections, COVID protocols, and Lakeside at MAM programming, be sure to visit m-a-m.org. Our friends at Central Standard Distillery have announced the name of their Milwaukee tap room. The newly dubbed Central Standard Craft House and Kitchen is slated to open on August 2nd. For more updates and details, check out thecentralstandard.com. The Warehouse Art Gallery opened its Art Japan 2021-1921 exhibition on July 9th. This work includes woodblock prints, etchings, lithographs, calligraphy, drawings, photography, ceramics, basketry, and textiles, all from the extensive permanent collection of the Warehouse. Art Japan is open through September 24th, and for more information on this exhibit, check out thewarehousemke.org/current. Select Sculpture Milwaukee sites will come to life on Friday, August 6th through Sunday, August 8th at the first ever Jump Start Downtown Busker Fest. Occurring throughout the USA Triathlon weekend, Jump Start's Downtown Busker Fest will feature over 60 local musicians performing on the streets of Easttown, Westtown, and the historic Third Ward. Performances will range a series of different genres including hip-hop, R&B, and jazz, Americana, acoustic singers and songwriters, instrumental, and soul. To learn about this event and to see the Busker Fest lineup, go to MilwaukeeDowntown.com. Save the date. The Visit Milwaukee annual meeting is taking place on Wednesday, July 28th at the Miller High Life Theater. As a recognition of all of your tireless dedication to Milwaukee's hospitality industry, this year's event is free to all partners. You don't want to miss us. Say goodbye to our panelists today, Omar, after 5 years of service, and see us give away some awesome awards and talk about the future of Milwaukee and tourism. Registration is open, and to register, please go to visitmilwaukee.org/RSVP. We really do hope that we get to see you there. We also want to make sure you join us for our next webinar, which is Friday, August 13th at 10:30 a.m. Check your email for our subject. Round up your foursome and mark your calendars for the return of the annual Greater Milwaukee Hospitality Open, presented by Molson Coors in conjunction with the Greater Milwaukee Hotel Lodging Association. It's going to be August 30th at Brown Deer Park Golf Course for what's sure to be a grand old time. Registration is now open and can be found at visitmilwaukee.org/RSVP as well. Now, for the reason you came today, I want to introduce you to our first panelist for today's discussion. Lafayette Crump is the Commissioner of City Development for the City of Milwaukee. Born and raised in Milwaukee, Lafayette most recently served as Deputy Chief of Staff and Chief Diversity, Vendor, and Engagement Officer for the Milwaukee 2020 Host Committee of the Democratic National Convention, where he ensured community involvement, the inclusion of local and diverse businesses, and corporate adherence to ethical, environmental, and employment and accessibility practices. He was also the Chief Operating Officer at Prism Technical Management and Marketing Services, LLC, a multidisciplinary management consulting firm based in Milwaukee with an office in St. Louis and experience across the United States. Prism was founded by Lafayette's parents, Randy and Joanne Crump, with whom he had the pleasure of working for many years before his appointment as the Commissioner of City Development. In addition to his work for Prism, Lafayette practiced law for a number of years, working to ensure equity for small businesses and nonprofits, and as an adjunct professor at Marquette University Law School, where his focus is ensuring that law students understand the needs, expectations, and reality of business owners. He is the past board chair for Safe and Sound, which is a public-private nonprofit uniting residents, youth, law enforcement, and community partners to build safe and empowered neighborhoods. He also serves on the boards of the Salvation Army. He serves on our very own Diversity, Inclusion, Equity Advisory Committee and the Wauwatosa Equity and Inclusion Commission. He is mentored and taught as a volunteer for Big Brothers Big Sisters Junior Achievement, the Milwaukee Black and Latino Male Mentor Program, and other organizations committed to nurturing and empowering young people. His long-standing commitment to the community has been recognized with numerous awards. And finally, he's a graduate of Duke University and Duke University Law School, and we won't hold that against you today. Please help me in welcoming Lafayette to the stage.
Hey, Peggy, great to be here, and I almost cut you off because I'm sure people don't need to hear all that, but I enjoyed hearing it, and I know it's also so our first photo up here we've got. I want to bring welcome from Mayor Barrett and from all of us at the City of Milwaukee. It's great to be here with all of you this morning, and I hope that the next presentation I have, the photo will actually be Peggy, Omar, Mark, and myself recreating that Greater Milwaukee Hospitality Open photo. I just want to touch on a few different things here. I'll jump around a little bit because there's a lot of exciting things happening in Milwaukee, and the foundation of that is our planning. Our comprehensive plan, which is mandated by the state, but we think we did some pretty creative things in terms of how we put that comprehensive plan together. We've got these 14 different area plans, and I'll talk a little bit about what we've done downtown. Since the adoption of that comprehensive plan back in 2010, including the downtown area plan completed that same year, we've seen over $3.5 billion in investment in the downtown, with another 2.5 billion either planned or under construction, whether it be renovated historic buildings, new office towers, just a lot of great things happening in the downtown area. And of course, the two incredible projects you'll hear about here shortly. If we move to the next slide, I want to talk about maybe something a little smaller scale, this Brighten the Passage project that was recently completed. One of the things that it's important to us at the Department of City Development, and I know those who are doing great work throughout the city think about as well, is how do we connect our different neighborhoods? How do we not make downtown feel cut off from the rest of the community? And then how do we further those linkages throughout the city? And so Brighten the Passage project, where connecting downtown to the Third Ward, you've got art down there, you've got lighting, pickleball, Omar, pickleball everywhere, right? Just areas where people can feel like they're not going necessarily from one distinct area to another, but it's all connected, and that's really exciting. We want to do that, both with real estate, with land, but also making people feel that they are connected. If we move to the next slide, I just want to touch briefly on growing prosperity. It says it right there in the subtitle. It's an action agenda for economic development in the city of Milwaukee. And that agenda has to mean growing prosperity for all. Equity tinges everything that we do, or certainly should. And I'm grateful to work for an administration and have a team around me that believes in that believes that racial equity, economic equity are very important. If we are not, proverbially lifting all boats, then we're doing something wrong. So we want to make sure that that's happening. A part of that as well as we implement all of our plans on the next slide is the Refresh Milwaukee plan, our city's sustainability plan. We should all understand, of course, that our resources, how we utilize them, all have to be a component of how we develop as well. So with that in mind, I want to talk about some of the things that we hope to accomplish and some of the things that have recently been accomplished. The next slide talks about something important to me, important to our department, and certainly important to the mayor, that we expand the streetcar, that we connect it to other parts of the city. We want to expand it north to Bronzeville. We want to expand it south into to Walker's Point and beyond, to really make sure, first of all, that we're getting the value out of it, but also recognizing that what the streetcar does is it creates or promotes rather transit-oriented development. Public transportation and the certainty that developers have that you're going to have that track there, that people are going to have an easy way to get there, is very valuable. We see that in communities throughout the country, and we deserve to have that happen here in Milwaukee as well. So if we go to the next slide, we see that we want to go south as well. We're currently looking as well as getting up to the arena. You certainly see the excitement that's happening at Fiserv in the Deer District this year, and we hope that happens for many years to come. If we go further south or a little bit southwest, yep, we're good. Going to the next slide. To in the Menominee River Valley, just an incredible success story that the city has had, internationally recognized in terms of taking an area that was once used in one way, and how do we prepare that land and make way for other development and other great uses. Just a really great industrial park down there, and a model in some ways for what we'd like to see north at Century City. We talk a lot about Century City and hope for things that are going to happen there. But I was just looking recently at the timing and how much time and effort went into the valley and just the stunning success there. And we're actually right on track, if not a little bit ahead of schedule at Century City in terms of having that same success with 5 or 6 different entities operating there, a number of people employed, and just with all of the workforce that is available in that area. I know there are going to be exciting things to come at Century City as well. If we move to the next slide, this right here is a vision of what could be down in the valley as well. This came out of a charrette, and it's so exciting. And again, not to step on what's coming up, but I love having visionary minds in this city thinking about what can be, and beautiful buildings that can exist and beautiful gathering places. And it's so important in Milwaukee that we not just think about either maintaining status quo or getting a little better, but going even beyond and being a leader in the dynamism of what we see in terms of what buildings can be and what kind of experiences people can have in them. So this is a vision of the future. And if we go to the next slide, you can see something that is on the way right now, the Right Height headquarters down in Reed Street Yards. Exciting, compelling, showing what the city can be. If we go further on to the next slide, we see some work that was done on South 5th Street, a redesign of that street, making it more pedestrian friendly, making it a space where people feel comfortable, outdoor and indoor spaces that are doing some really intriguing things and that are an example of what we can do in other parts of the city, whether that be traffic calming measures, vibrant colors, vibrant spaces, vibrant gathering spaces, just really good example of other things we can be doing in the city. Next slide, we see work that was done in the Harbor District. We've got the Harborview Plaza there, nice little pocket park, a view here, and it should be on the next slide as well, of what the work that's being done. Previous slide was Komatsu, I believe. You can see in the lower right-hand corner, and here we've got the Michaels project that is happening not too far away. If we go further, you can see to the next slide, you can see Riverwalk expansion that's occurring both in the Harbor District as well as into the Menominee Valley. Our Riverwalk is just really thrilling space that I think actually goes a little underutilized. It's something we've been talking about internally about how do we do more programming along the Riverwalk? What opportunities are there for people to pitch to us things that can happen there, maybe through some arts board funding or other things some of the bid districts may be doing. We want to make these spaces where people throughout the city recognize what a great resource our river and our river walk are. Just spaces where we want people to come enjoy it, and again, just think about what else can be throughout the city, in other spaces. If we go to the next slide here, this is okay. Here was the Harbor District expansion. We'll keep going to the next one. Keep going because we're talking achievements. I've got about 40 slides here, and I may not touch on all of them. Maybe one day I'll beat Rocky's record. I think there's one file in our system that's about 300 slides. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Just unprecedented investment and spurring growth and building momentum in the downtown area. This slide here was prepared by our partners at Bid 21, Downtown Bid, and just you can see some of the numbers there in terms of the investment, in terms of all of the different things that have happened. And I think we love this slide so much that I think it shows up again a couple slides later. That's my trick to get to the number of slides we want to see. If we keep going on, a lot of this work here was a result of the 2010 plan, and the best is truly yet to come. Here, you can see a couple photos. Sorry, guys, to steal your thunder. I won't talk about it much, but the two at the bottom, things that we're really excited about happening in that West Town area. But Milwaukee Tool as well, which recently, agreed to come into downtown Milwaukee in the West Town area, and having that many people, 1,200 to 2,000 workers, coming into the west side of downtown, who are going to care about downtown, who are going to spend downtown, who are going to care about the areas, directly west, south, and north of them as well, is really thrilling. The more people that we incorporate into the heart of our city who care about the city as a whole is just going to reap so many benefits. And you see it certainly in that upper left slide. We've got Fiserv Forum there. What a development, and you see what it's doing for our city right now. Moving to the next slide. Lakefront Gateway, the Couture broke ground a little bit earlier this year after 9 arduous years of trying to get to this point, and optimism and belief by the developer and by our team at the city, by the mayor, really believing in that project and what it can do, not just for the lakefront, but also in terms of our transportation landscape. And again, vision. Talk a lot about making the, building the landscape so that the visionaries in our community can do what they do best, to dream and to build and to create spaces that bring people together, but also elevate our city from an architectural standpoint, internal and external, and from an activity standpoint. And this lakefront, Gateway Plaza, which more work to be done to make that happen. That'll be public-private partnership to get that done. But I have no doubt that we'll get that happening as well. If we go to the next slide, again, this is one we love, so it shows up again. So we'll keep going. Just so much momentum. This section is all about momentum, this section of the slides. Momentum West Town, momentum East Town. You see these beautiful buildings. We'll keep going to the next slide. Lakefront momentum. This is, over the last few years, and then things even to come. Park East work. We'll keep going. Keep it moving. Deer District work, the brewery. So all of these different areas of downtown. And I'll tell you, I love seeing everything that's happening in our downtown, but we absolutely want to see that happen throughout the city as well. We want to expand where you see entertainment, where you see beautiful residential buildings, where you see commercial activity, where you see housing stability, safety, and all of the things that we like to see in the downtown area. We want to see that throughout the city. We want to have spaces where our current and future residents feel comfortable and excited about being MK United, one of another. I mentioned the downtown bid, of course. Visit Milwaukee, of course. The West Town bid, but MK United made up a number of different partners who are thinking about how do we make sure that what happens downtown happens to the areas north, south, and west of downtown, but are also good for those areas as well. So if we go on to the next slide. Thinking about what's next, we'll keep going to the next one. We'll keep going. I think this is just a lot of photos here. We'll keep it moving, and I'll take a sip. So I want to talk. When we mention all of these different projects, and again, the projects that are coming up, they are catalytic projects. These are projects that are not just exciting on their own, but they're exciting in terms of what they mean for the rest of the city. People will come in these spaces, they'll be inspired, but they'll want to be near it. They'll want to replicate it in other parts of the city. When we think about making things happen in different parts of the city, in different parts of downtown for that matter, we're always trying to think about what does that mean for the current plan? What does that mean for our other plans? And what does it mean for linkages between neighborhoods so that we're really catalyzing, for growth and activity throughout the city. We'll go next slide. Keep it moving. We'll keep it moving. I think I'm getting close to my time. Future projects that are coming online soon. Ken Hotel. If we go to the next one, MAT student housing, in the heart of downtown, former Journal Sentinel building, the Ascent. I had a chance to go down to the port this morning, the Port of Milwaukee, and see the logistics for that. When we talk about, catalytic projects, this one is interesting from the standpoint, again, of showing what's possible. There have been so many different city agencies and entities involved in making sure that a mass timber building is safe, that we have the logistics worked out, that we're doing everything up to code, and we're seeing more and more buildings that are benefiting from the work that went in there. So kudos to Newland, kudos to our fire department, our Department of Neighborhood Services, everyone involved in making that project happen and being an example for others. We'll go on to the next slide. As much as we love beautiful luxury housing, we also want to have beautiful, affordable housing for people in this city, and making sure that no matter what someone's price point is, they can live with dignity and live in spaces that inspire them and inspire their families. We'll go on to the next slide. The anti-displacement plan, not to belabor it here, but just a way to make sure that as we're having growth throughout the city and growth in the downtown area, that we're not pushing people out. We want people to be able to stay where they've been for many years. And so we're really excited to partner with the private sector on making sure that that is possible. I think a very positive public, private, and philanthropic community civic relationship, having those four different pillars working together is what makes for a successful city. And I'm excited to see more of that happen in time. We'll go to the next one. I think, there it is. We wrapped. I don't know how much time that was, but we think of Milwaukee's place in the world and what we can be. The future is incredibly bright. So thank you.
Thank you. That was an amazing presentation. Lots of information to digest. If you have questions, make sure you put them in the chat. Now I am pleased to introduce Omar Sheikh. He is a business and community leader, and he's well known for his award-winning restaurant, Carnivore, one of the top-rated steakhouses in the country, known for its amazing customer service and mouth-watering cuisine. He's also a partner in Wisconsin Ticket Concierge, O&B Consulting, 3rd Street Market Hall at the Avenue, and Tuk Tuk Chicago, a short-distance electric cab service. Omar's passion for moving the city of Milwaukee forward through his active involvement in the community is so evident. He's currently serving as our board chair here at Visit Milwaukee. He's a member of the Wisconsin Center District Board of Directors and was instrumental in making sure that we got the expansion, which is going to be a game changer for what tourism and travel brings to Milwaukee. And it will greatly benefit the entire tourism ecosystem, hotels, restaurants, retailers throughout southeastern Wisconsin. He strongly believes in giving back to the community. He's the chairman of the Milwaukee Kitchen Cabinet, which has put together the 3 Days of Christmas initiative for the past several years, as well as back to school events for children to get backpacks. Omar and his wife Connie have been leaders in raising money for area's nonprofits and community groups, serving as co-chairs for several record-breaking fundraisers, including the Harry and Rose Sampson Jewish Community Center's Kid Share and Sharp Literacy's A Novel event. Omar, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great to be here. I just want to give a little shout out to Lafayette. He hit the ground running as a commissioner, and watching that presentation and seeing what he's done with Milwaukee Tool and Couture and so many other things, it's awesome. I mean, to have a commissioner with that type of vision, and also work with, like, I'm big fan of Jody Tabak now too over at the city as the chief of staff. And so having that vision and having community leaders and people behind it to make these things happen, I think there's a lot of great things happening here in the city. So shout out Lafayette. I also want to say that, going to talk here a little bit about the Avenue and 3rd Street Market Hall. I'm just a very small part of the Avenue. Josh Krisnak is from Hempel, and Tony January from Interstate Development Partners are the co-owners of the project. Josh is really the guy that's driving it all forward. And he's from Minneapolis, but he's living here 3 days a week. So I tell him every day, like, you're from Milwaukee now, and he loves this city, that he's actually spending most of his time here in the city. So happy to talk a little bit about the Avenue, because I'm involved in some of the things happening. And I will say this. These guys, Josh kind of came into this project a little blindly, just to speak frankly. There was a stigma west of the river 5 years ago or so. And people didn't perceive it to be the greatest area. And there were a lot of things already happening at that time. And Mark's going to talk about it, and we'll talk about some of the other things. And Lafayette touched on some of them. But it kind of took somebody coming in from out of town to kind of blindly come in and say, hey, we're in the center of downtown. I can do something with this project, and he did. And first of all, I also have to give a shout out to, like, the Lubar family, from David Shell, David Bauer, Patrick Lubar, and Vince Shealy. I mean, these guys really took this project to another level, and so I think that really should be said. But activity over the Avenue right now has been it's been pretty incredible, just to speak frankly. I can't go out and talk about a lot of the tenant mix, but I will say that we're giving a lot of tours, and the leasing activity has been phenomenal. And so seeing a lot of these suburban companies wanting to come in and sign massive, large tenant spaces shows that they believe in downtown Milwaukee, and they believe in Milwaukee. And, they also believe that, if you're going to sign a 25,000 square foot lease, to me, that means you're planning on your employees coming back to work, which is what I think we're all going to need to move this local economy as well. And so won't talk about that today as much, but I will say the amenities that Josh and Tony created in the Avenue are second to none. Everything from the pickleball courts indoors to, a little doggy daycare center where people can wash their pets and have activities for their pets to, 54 market rate apartments that were created there that are fully leased up. I know Josh is also developing the Majestic as well, and that's going to be another 230 market rate apartments. They're connected to that Walgreens. Just so many great things happening. So talk a little bit about 3rd Street Market Hall, because I'm basically just the food guy, and so happy to talk about that. It's been a huge passion. Been working on it about 4 to 5 years now. I mean, really the team, Josh, Tony, Courtney, Jamie, and I, and Braden toured 60 to 70 food halls across America. And I mean, we really did. And so got behind the scenes tours of the best food halls in America. And it was so cool because from Atlanta to New York to LA, they really took us in and they gave us some behind the scenes tours and were telling us what works for them, what doesn't work. And so we got a lot of great ideas from that. During the pandemic, then Josh and I actually called an additional 60 food halls and, just said, hey, interested in taking, one of our concepts into your food hall, which we may someday, you never know. But a lot of the discussion was, hey, what's working for you? What isn't? Can you share with your agreements? Can you share with us a lot of your structures and how you do things? I mean, I might not be like invited to a lot of food halls across America once they see that we're opening here, but we got some of the greatest ideas from some of the greatest minds in our business, and kind of took each of those and put it all into the Third Street Market Hall. And so 5 years in the works here, I think we're going to put out a product that I really believe in my heart will be considered top 5 food hall in America. And during that time, we had a lot of borrowed time with the pandemic as well. Had a lot of other ideas that came to the mix. And so in addition to a lot of the great culinary that we really spent time procuring, we created a 50-person central bar, as you see right here, this picture. And it's really going to be a gathering place for everyone in Milwaukee to come and hang out. And the whole idea behind that was we want everyone feeling comfortable coming here. We wanted this to be a cultural melting pot, right? And we wanted this a place where people could bring their families, feel comfortable. The kids don't have to fight because there's 24 different units, a lot of different types of cultures and cuisines represented. So anyone can get whatever they want to get and meet in another type of place. This is a place that millennial can come if they want to craft beer and pop up by themselves, pop up their laptop and do work. This is a place where people can do business. We'll have breakout areas. We'll have 3 different banquet spaces for people to do, whether it be working lunches, whether it be weddings, whether it be corporate type parties, because really in the last 60 days, we've seen a massive just desire for these companies to now go out and book parties. And so we felt that it was important that we have those spaces. And in addition to that, we're building out another private function area that will be 2 Topgolf bays. I know Josh signed the lease with Topgolf, and so that's under construction now as well. So that will be used again for private functions, private parties, or it can be used for we're attached to 2 million square feet of office space through 2 miles of skywalk, or anybody coming in from the outside, you can rent the bays out at 15 minutes or 1 hour intervals just to come hit balls, or you can do leagues at night with zombie dodgeball and things like that on the machines as well. But in large part, a lot of what that Topgolf is going to be used for are corporate bookouts, and we can do F&B and get creative to do any type of packages that people want. Moving over past the Topgolf, we'll have 2 shuffleboard courts. I don't know if we have a picture of those, hopefully. But we'll get into that as we get into the slides. The shuffleboard courts will be used for leagues. Again, all these different areas, though, within the food hall can be rented out. So you can have private spaces, but you'll also have spaces that you'll be in the midst of everything. So we've noticed a lot of companies have come to us and said, hey, we want to have a team building 25-person event. Can we rent out the shuffleboards, but still be in the middle of everything? And that's what we're seeing. And people want to be around people again. So as you move past and I'd love to give everyone here a tour when everyone has time, but move in next to that, we'll have a selfie museum. And so the great part about that is from our kids are super excited about it. You're going to have a ton of birthday parties. You're going to have families driving in from an hour away because their kids want to go to the selfie museum in conjunction, Josh worked a partnership with MyEd there. So it's going to be an incredibly special selfie museum. As you've seen a lot of them are really cool, but this one's going to be a lot different from anything that I've ever seen. We travel to selfie museums across the country as well. Oddly enough, it was really cool to see that it was mostly adults in corporations and, hanging out in these selfie museums and using selfie museums. I expected all families, but that's what it wasn't. That's what it wasn't. So all in all, the Third Street Market Hall is just going to be something really special for everybody, and we're really excited to open it. It's a moving target in terms of opening date. It'll be closer to, obviously, it'll be in fall, and we're looking September, October-ish. So we move on to the next slide. This is just an example of, there's, I believe, 1,850 parking stalls there. So there's going to be several entrances in and out of getting from the avenue to the key fob type corporate areas and, accessible down into Third Street Market Hall. So plenty of parking all around. There's going to be a lot of signage and whatnot being able to get to the Third Street Market Hall. This is our new sign. A lot of props goes to Courtney. for really driving a lot of what happens with everything here in Milwaukee. But the Third Street Market Hall is a massive sign that will be seen from blocks and blocks away. And so pretty excited that you start to see a lot of the hard work kind of come together. And this is really the main entrance. As you see right there is the anchor tenant, Grave, at the top. They'll have a rooftop up there. A big shout out to good John Kissinger. You know, he's the first one that really took the leap of faith to come into the project and sign a 40,000 square foot lease. And you got to give him props. Nobody else. He was the first one to do it. And I think a lot have followed since. And a lot to be announced coming up pretty soon too, as well. So this will be the main entrance to Third Street Market Hall, right there on 3rd Street in Wisconsin. There'll be 4 ways to enter it, though. So again, a lot of areas through the skywalks. We can move on to the next slide. Well, I guess, you know, I'm done talking. A lot of exciting things happening in Milwaukee, but west of the river, and we'll let the great Mark go on next. Thank you.
Thanks, Omar. We can't wait for it to open. As office tenants of the building next door in the ASQ, we are really looking forward to being able to go over there for lunch every day and cocktails after work every night. Now, I would like to introduce Mark Niehaus. He's the president and executive director of the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. As the former principal trumpeter of the MSO, he became president and executive director in the 2000s after serving as the chairman of the Orchestra Players Council and an active member of the MSO board. As president and executive director, Mark brings industry knowledge, a strong familiarity with the MSO patrons and sponsors, and an extensive knowledge of the organization's goals and long-range strategic plan. Most recently, Mr. Niehaus also received a Social Enterprise Scholarship for the summer 2015 Strategic Perspectives in Nonprofit Management program through the Harvard Business School and participated in the pilot of the Arts Leadership Program through the Stanford Graduate School of Business. He is a graduate of the Juilliard School, where he began his professional career as principal trumpet of the New Haven Symphony while still a college freshman. My goodness. Mark, I am going to turn it over to you. We can't wait to hear about the beautiful building that I've had the pleasure of being able to tour, and can't wait for everyone to get back there.
Thanks so much, Peggy. You just reminded me, I think I need to update my bio because it's talking about things I did in 2015 that feels like a former lifetime. And I'm actually looking out that window. I can see the 3rd Street Market Hall sign. So Omar's project is making me hungry every day. And I can't wait to walk right across the street and grab lunch and grab a drink. And I want to, I so appreciate everything that Commissioner Crump said earlier in this call. I'm actually normally very nervous about going last because I don't want to be, I have a little bit of a confidence, and maybe I don't know as much about what's happening around town as my colleagues do, but I'm actually quite thankful to be going last this time because so much of what Omar and Commissioner Crump said earlier are the same issues and pride that the symphony has. So I'm just going to sort of go through a few things here. First of all, we're talking about Grafe across the street. John Kissinger said, we moved, first of all, we love the location, but if the symphony hadn't gone in down there on West Wisconsin Avenue, he doesn't think they would have moved in. So in many ways, we were one of the first investments in this area. And it came about because of WAMDC, the development commission within the city that the mayor created a while back. And that group of business leaders and sort of were able to acquire the property for the symphony very quietly. We had to grab the QQ sushi restaurant building. We had to move in over the alley. We needed to bump out into 2nd Street. And speaking of 2nd Street, if you look on that photo there, far to the very far right, 2nd Street now is one lane going south, but it has no curbs. And it's one of these pedestrian-friendly areas with benches and planters and things like that. And it's kind of a pilot program for the city to sort of try this kind of car pedestrian mixed street. And you see these in a lot of other cities, and I'm very excited. My hope is that it's going to continue south underneath the Sky Bridge where that Stone Creek Coffee is and across the street there. But so let's talk a little bit about how this project came about. First of all, the theater we can go to the next slide. The theater was built in 1930. And you can see, this is the historic lobby. And you can see the sign there for Allen Bradley Hall. The entire project is called the Bradley Symphony Center, and the theater itself is called the Allen Bradley Hall. And I was very pleased, Omar, that you mentioned the Lubars and their personal investment in in help with the avenue. Of course, the fine arts sector is not completely, but very much reliant on philanthropy. And for us, it's in the person of David Eline and his wife Julie, as well as the Bradley Foundation, which is their legacy family foundation, all sort of funds that came from the Allen Bradley Company back in the day. So that's why we've honored that company, which is now Rockwell Automation, in the Allen Bradley Hall. So it really is, it's an incredibly beautiful space. And the thing is, so many people don't know that it's here because the theater closed in 1995 and was empty from 95 until basically this year as we're opening it back up. We can go to the next slide here. So again, more amazing photos. The building it's incredibly photogenic, but it's also quite actually it's more beautiful in person. Let's keep going with the slides here. So the theater in 1930 had one ticket booth, and you see that little kiosk that Visit Milwaukee was using for a while, and actually the bid district used it as well for our ambassador station. It had one ticket slot that was about this big, and 2,000 people went to the movie, 2,000 seats. I have no idea how that worked. We cannot figure out how they could sell 2,000 tickets through one little ticket slot. There were also no bathrooms on the street level. So if someone had a cane or was in the wheelchair, there was no way they could go to the restroom. So we have added on these spaces for the patron amenities for someone when they go to a concert. But if you'll notice, actually, let's go to the upstairs photo. I think we have the next photo is upstairs this building. Oh, there's the stairwell. That's our amazing staircase designed by our friends at Keeler Slater, whose offices are just a block away from us as well. Let's go to the next one, the upstairs. So this is the upstairs of our pavilion. We call it the atrium, and it's the design of this glass building was intentional. First of all, we wanted it to be very open and airy. And we wanted people to be able to see in, because the theater is sort of buried in the middle of the block, and it's very, it's like the Riverside Theater. You wouldn't know there's a gigantic theater inside a building or sealed on the inside of the block. But more importantly, the arts in Milwaukee, and not just in Milwaukee, all over the country, suffer from a self-inflicted wound, which is elitism, perception of elitism, and creating a certain type of attendance anxiety. The fine arts are for everyone, and everyone in Milwaukee should feel welcome going into the art museum. They should feel welcome going to the symphony, the opera, the ballet, the public museum. But there are large folks in our community who don't feel that maybe that's a place for them. Now, it's my opinion that many of those folks would love to experience at least once. Actually, almost everybody wants to try it once, and the trick is to have them come back. Omar knows that in the restaurant business. But if someone feels like they're not welcome, or they're not going to see someone that looks like them, they're not going to know when to clap, they're not going to know what should I wear, and and even parking is a huge issue. How am I going to get into the building? So for us, it's really important that we create a project that is open and welcoming to everyone to reduce that attendance anxiety. And it's funny because I love the art museum. I think the Calatrava is a fantastic building. It looks like a spaceship. And if you are not used to going to art museums, are you going to feel like you get to go in there, or does it look like something that other people get to go to? And the art museum is doing great work to make sure everybody feels welcome there, and that we're in that same space. I cannot wait to see the future plans for the public museum. I have very high hopes for what that space is going to look like, sort of on that border between the Deer District and the sort of the north side of Milwaukee. I think it's going to be an incredibly meaningful space. So let's go to the next one. This is a neat thing. It's an Easter egg in the building, and I'm telling you about it now. So when you do come in, which I hope all of you will, we wanted to honor the history of the orchestra in Milwaukee because the building has so much history. And if you look at the glass on the second floor, and you have to be about 3 feet away from the glass or closer to see it, Every composer, every composer that we played in the last 60 years of the Milwaukee Symphony are represented in the glass on the second floor. Now, you can't see it unless you're close, and it has a wonderful ancillary benefit is that birds don't crash into our windows. So I know one of the things we walk around town is all too often, you'll see a bird that's hit the glass of someone's building on the sidewalk. That's not an issue for us. Now, I will say the seagulls like to poop on our building. Apparently, that's like a huge deal down here. And I'm going to be interesting to hear how Omar and the food hall deal with that issue down here. So, but I digress. Let's go to the next photo. So this is the inside. The theater was built in 1930 by the Warner Corporation, which is why the sign out in front of our building says Warner. Part of our historic tax credit process meant that we had to put the sign up the way it was in 1930. I tried to find some very wealthy person named Warner and tell him we were going to name the building after him, but that didn't work. But the ethos behind these beautiful movie palaces in the past were to create a space where the common man, the common woman could go in and feel like a king or a queen for at least an afternoon or an evening and be in a magnificent space and feel and be, ushers wore white gloves. It was a very elevated experience for people when they went to go see a movie. And this would be the only time when people would get sort of visual information that has been curated by someone else. There was obviously the people we listened to the radio a little bit, but there was no television, clearly no phones. So it was before the screen era we're in now, where you're looking at a screen 11 hours a day. This was the only screen. And it was fascinating how you would have movie reels, and during World War II, there would be, literally propaganda about what was happening in the war that may not be real in order to raise money for war bonds. And then you'd also get baseball highlights from out of town. They would run the film from the train station as fast as they could up to the projection booth and try to show highlights that were at least 3 days old. Anything more than 3 days old, they wouldn't put them up. So I think that's kind of fascinating. So let's go to the next shot. It's just a different view from up in the balcony. So let's talk about this. So our plan in September, the end of September, and I should tell you, on September 26th, the first public event in our building post we did some small concerts with small audiences and small orchestra. The full orchestra has not played on the stage together, meaning all 72 of our musicians have not been on the stage at the same time. And the largest audience we had was 210 people, I think. Come September, our expectation is to have a full house of 16 to 1,700 audience members and the full orchestra on the stage. But on September 26th, the first thing we're going to do, and this goes along with our sort of ethos of the building is for everybody, we're having a day of music for Milwaukee, where the doors will be wide open all day long, multiple concerts in multiple spaces where people can just wander in and out at their leisure and get to know the space and feel like it's for them. We're also going to be opening our doors for the night market that's happening on West Wisconsin Avenue. I think it's August 18th. There won't be any performances in the building. It's just going to be doors open, come on in and take a look and enjoy the space. But the thing I wanted to get a shout out to our friend Marty at the convention center. If you haven't gone to the Van Gogh exhibit yet over there, now when I say exhibit, that's probably misleading. It's not the actual paintings, but it's an installation, an electronic installation that it's really quite wonderful. So that's a really neat thing. And so we're also partnering at the Symphony with Sculpture Milwaukee. Some of their works are perhaps a little too fragile to have out in the open, and so we're talking about putting some of their stuff in our gallery level along West Wisconsin Avenue, so people can see in and come in and enjoy that type of art. But then the last thing I want to talk about is the EDI efforts at the Milwaukee Symphony, is equity, diversity, and inclusion. Our work started in this area long before the murder of George Floyd, but there was a much more of a focus, a global focus, or actually was a global focus. We were being watched by the world during that period of time as to how we're going to change the way we do business and how we're going to interact with our community, how we're going to staff ourselves, what programming choices we're going to make. And already at the Symphony, you will see a shift in programming, not away from our core, what we do. It's an and initiative. We're doing what we do, and we're doing this. And that it has really been quite joyful for us here to sort of become learners and listeners, because musicians listen, at least they have to. And I hope you will pay very close attention to what happens at the Symphony in the coming months and years, because I'm really proud of our EDI efforts and what some of the things you're going to be seeing happening in our building. Let's see what else. I wrote a few things down while we were going on this. You know, Omar, it's interesting to your conversation about going to visit so many different food halls around the country. I had the great gift for a couple of years of going to see symphony halls, and especially buildings that were initially movie theaters and have been turned into concert halls, which if you think we're somehow trendsetters or brilliant here in Milwaukee for doing it, we're not. It's been done many places in St. Louis, in Pittsburgh, in Erie, Pennsylvania, Portland, Oregon. Many of these old movie palaces have been turned into symphony halls successfully. So it's this kind of learning where we leave Milwaukee, we go and we learn from other cities, and we come back and we bring the best. And Omar said, top 5 food hall. Our hall is absolutely in the top 5 now. And that's what's, and the industry knows it. I'm very public in saying it's way better than the Symphony Center in Chicago. In my opinion, it sounds better. It's a better patron experience, and it's easier to get in and out of, and the parking and everything. So I'm incredibly proud of what we accomplished here. I'm super thankful to the city and all their help with all the easements we had on 2nd Street to basically redesign the block, and the help acquiring the property through WAMDC. And, you know, I mean, the mayor's been a huge fan. And if someone's here want to know a program I'm excited about for next season. Actually, I'm going to talk about a person who's in our program. So we have an artistic partner. His name's Aaron Deal. He's an incredible pianist. He plays jazz at Lincoln Center, and he is helping. His opening performance is he's going to play Rhapsody in Blue, and I think Florence Price is. Oh, you know, it's funny. I have Season Creep. We planned 3 years at once, and they all. So let me think about that for a second. But he's bringing a tremendous amount of repertoire with him, and also we're doing several pieces by this young female composer, Jessie Montgomery, that I have become an incredible fan of her music. And actually, I think if you go to our website, you can actually stream one of her pieces right now, a smaller piece that we played during our virtual season as we were broadcasting concerts from the Bradley Symphony Center without audiences. Do we plan to program 2nd Street? Probably not. Right now, we're not looking at trying to curate outside anything. We got to figure out inside first. So that's it. And we will, our food business here, we've partnered with the Levy Company, who does Pfizer and does the Harley Davidson Museum. Our food experience in the Symphony is primarily going to be focused on people who are coming and going from concerts, or folks who want to rent the space. We are not going to open a restaurant. First of all, that business is too hard, and we're not interested in taking away from the ecosystem on West Wisconsin Avenue and competing with our restaurant friends. So, but we do know what our patrons like is they like one-stop shopping. They like parking their car once, and they like going to get something to eat, going to a concert, and then going out after and doing something where they share the experience. That holistic evening that's easy to curate is very important to people. And some of that will happen inside the Symphony Center. Some of it's going to happen across the street at the food hall and in the restaurants in the area. So we're not looking to basically grab, you know, take the whole, we're not trying, we don't have the capability or the desire to grab that whole piece. So that is, I don't know, do I have another slide, or is that the end of it? Oh, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for including me in this group. And I invite everybody to come in September to come to the Milwaukee Symphony. You owe it to yourself to check it out once, and then it's our job to make sure you come back after that.
Thank you so much, Mark. You know, when I was reading your bio and I started out, and it said that you started in 2012, and I was like, there's no way he's been there that long. It's not been that long since you took over. And then I went and looked at it as you started to talk, because I was questioning myself, and you have been there since 2012.
I've been 9 years, yeah.
Wow, so
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I know that we answered most of the questions on the chat, so I just want to thank all of our panelists, Commissioner Crump, Omar, and Mark, for their time this morning, but more importantly, their passion for innovation in our city. As Omar said, Commissioner, you've hit the ground running since taking this position, and as the person responsible for bringing visitors to the city, we have to have a modern, diverse city in order to attract people, and the projects that you're leading will definitely make us more attractive to visitors. Omar, your vision and passion are evident in your involvement in how Milwaukee moves forward. We're so excited for the 3rd Street Market Hall. And Mark, as someone who has spent the better part of my career on the west side of the river, you are the type of visionary that Lafayette spoke of. Your ability to see something on Wisconsin Avenue when no one else did has sparked some of the development we're seeing there. So I want to thank all 3 of you for being here, for being leaders in our city. Thanks to everyone who joined the call. We'll see you in August. Check your emails for the topic. Thanks, and everyone have a great weekend.